Well, my 303 is officially dead. Unfortunately, it's not working anymore. The other day I went to turn it on, nothing happened. I've been trying to see if there's something I can do to fix it. Unfortunately, there isn't. And today in the video, I want to talk to you about what happens when gear dies on you, what you can do if there's alternatives, and other things that might be interesting to discuss in the community regarding obsolescence, gear prices, and what to expect out of gear over the long term. Quick note before we get started, this is my opinion. This is not to bash any company, but at the same time, I want to talk to you about the price that you pay for gear. How long do you really think it's supposed to last? Is it supposed to last forever? And is there a sort of planned obsolescence in this stuff? I don't think so, but I wanted to talk to the community and see what your experience has been and share my experience along the way. So I bought the 303 about 4 years ago, and instantly it was one of my favorite synths. If you can imagine growing up in Chicago and listening to acid house or Detroit techno, being able to finally tweak the knobs on a physical 303 was one of the coolest things I was able to experience as a musician. But the thing that's happened over the years is that these pieces of gear, they've become pretty inexpensive, so more people can access them. However, the quality is not as good. And so as a result, you get into a scenario like mine where you really like a piece of gear, but one day you go to turn it on and it doesn't turn on anymore. So what actually went wrong? The 303 uses a 9-volt adapter, and in my studio and in most studios, you'll have multiple adapters that sometimes you might plug in one piece of gear with the same adapter or different pieces of gear, and normally it doesn't really present any problems. In fact, no other gear that I've ever had, if I've accidentally plugged in a wrong adapter, did it ever give me any problems. And I don't think that that's what happened here. I've tried multiple adapters to see if this is like a connection thing or something, but basically I think what happened is that the unit is fried. So in the comments, has any of your gear stopped working on you? What did you do when that happened? Did you send it back? Since this is clearly not under any kind of warranty anymore, in my scenario, I don't really have a whole lot I can do with this piece of gear, meaning that I'm gonna have to find alternatives if I wanna get that sound, or I'm gonna have to buy another one of these. And it's not that expensive, but I do want to explore some of the alternatives you can access if you have maybe hardware or software that can give you a similar vibe. So one of the easiest things you can do is head over to Audio Realism. They have both for Mac and Windows a baseline emulator that is pretty good. I think probably one of the best ones. And you can download the demo and play around with it, see if you like it. Another alternative would be to use hardware. Though that is more expensive, it does give you the ability to tweak the machine directly, and that's a lot of the experience of the 303. The TEO-5 comes with a 303 preset that I find pretty convincing and gives the user a similar experience to having a TB303. Over the years, I've compiled some of the more famous 303 lines, and I've made them into a sample pack that you can download for free on Gumroad. These are just MIDI note patterns, so for you guys to use them, drag them into your DAW, feel free to mess around. The reason I wanted to give them to you is so that you guys can reminisce a little bit with me and also see how some of these patterns are the fundamentals of many of the more famous songs that we've all enjoyed. These patterns are for free, although give credit where credit is due if you're going to use them in your own productions. This is basically keeping the legacy alive. Some of these famous lines are some of the more famous tracks in dance music, and if you guys want to get a feel for what it's like to mess with the 303, this is a good way for you guys to get into it. So you guys, the 303 died, but the 303 is not dead. The 303 is an iconic sound. The synth lives on even through other replications, whether they be software or other hardware versions. I really like the 303, and I will continue to tweak the 303 as I continue to make music. And if you guys have had similar experiences and you want to write them in the comments, or if you like honest gear talk about what to do when stuff breaks, feel free to leave a comment as well. Also, like and subscribe, I appreciate that. And in the comments too, what are your favorite 303 memories? I have some good memories listening to the 303 in clubs and in old school raves and stuff like that. So if that's something that you're also into, let me know. And looking forward to seeing you guys again soon. And as always, peace.